How do you leave behind the familiar, step into a completely new world, and reinvent yourself while building not just one, but two businesses from scratch? Today's episode is more than just a story of one woman who left everything behind and reinvented herself in a completely new city and new culture. It is about Carmen Salameh's belief that anyone can take charge of their own destiny. Hello and welcome to Season 10 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Gun. My mission is to uncover the stories and strategies of Asian women entrepreneurs to inspire and guide you on your own entrepreneurial journey. This episode is brought to you by Redbox Studio. I'm also excited to announce that I have a virtual program all about creating visibility for yourself called From Vision to Voice. Applications have closed for this cohort, but you are welcome to check out the program details and get on our waitlist for the next cohort. The program is an immersive program that I co-teach with my friend Rowena. Our aim is to coach women who would like to create more opportunities for themselves by getting more visible. Visit womenpreneurasia.com for more information. Today's episode features Carmen Salameh, a podcaster and entrepreneur who made the bold move from Paris to Hong Kong in search of a new chapter. She's the founder of Asian Business Owners, a podcast featuring stories from entrepreneurs across Asia, and Octogen, a social media marketing agency dedicated to helping business owners grow with digital content. In our conversation, Carmen shares what it's really like to start fresh in a new city, why she traded the comfort of the familiar for the challenge of the unknown, how she built two businesses from the ground up, and what it truly means to chart your own path. If you ever felt the urge to reinvent yourself, chase a dream that scares you, or take on a challenge that stretches you beyond your limits, this episode is for you. Hello, Carmen. Welcome to Womenpreneur Asia.
Hello, Krista. I'm happy to be here.
So, Carmen, where are you today?
I'm in Hong Kong and I'm at home recording with you because we're not in the same country. So this is a remote recording.
And I know that you're not originally from Hong Kong, right?
That's right. I'm French and I settled in Hong Kong 2.5 years ago.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. What was life for you? What was life like for you in Paris before you made the big move to Hong Kong?
So I've lived my entire life in Paris, and I had a busy life. I had a great life. I had it all, the good job. I was in a big international company, and I used to travel around Europe for work. So a lot of business trips, and I like to do lots of things and be in an active environment. So I really enjoyed that life. I was living in a big apartment and I was proud to be able to afford this. And I was living on my own. I was very happy. I had a lot of friends and a very social life, busy social life, and a good salary. So yeah, I can say I had everything and I was on track for this life that a lot of people have. And it's not a bad thing to have this life. It's just that at some point I felt like, when you reach your objectives or you reach a point where you're not learning so much anymore, you just feel like you need to start something else. It started a little bit before COVID, but still, I think COVID, when we were all locked down, it got us thinking a lot because we had nothing else to do other than thinking, reflecting on our lives. So yeah, this is when I started to think about something else that could happen after that.
And what was that moment when you thought that, okay, there's something else, right? I'm sure that there's something else popped up into your mind, and that's why you're in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so I asked my company to move to another office in Europe because I wanted to change scenery and discover something else. Because I've lived before as a student 1 year abroad in Ireland and a few months in the US. I like to be in another environment, in another country abroad. And I knew I was capable of that. So then, I don't know, I wouldn't say there was one wake-up call. It's maybe the addition of many things in the process of a lot of thinking, a lot of maybe meeting some people, and it's not overnight. And I felt like I needed to learn more. And also in my job, my job was interesting. It was in digital marketing, but there was a lot of things going on in the company. And then at some point, I changed manager, and then it was not going well, and I was not learning so much anymore. So that was the main thing, I would say, because I need to be stimulated a lot, like mentally, and because I like to reflect. I like to have deep conversations with people and, put things in perspective. And so I didn't feel like I had this anymore in my company. So that's when I started to really seriously think about quitting my job. But I waited a bit because it was, right after COVID, so things were not super stable. And I knew that I was lucky to still have a job at that time. and then this is how it started. And it's now on a personal note, I caught up with a friend who is now my husband. We've been friends for a decade or so, and he lives in Hong Kong. But he went back to Paris for a few months at the time. So we just caught up, had drinks, like we used to do before. But I don't know, this time things switch. And we started dating. And actually, this is how I decided to move to Hong Kong. It was not something was not a decision that I made. Like, I didn't reflect a lot, actually. It was very impulsive because I knew that I needed something else. And I thought, you know what? You have to go back to Hong Kong because your life is there. So I just booked my flight, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. If this works out between us, well, that's cool, and this will be a good thing. If it doesn't, let's see. If I like Hong Kong, I will stay. If I don't, I will think about it. And it was the first time I was going to Hong Kong. So a lot of first times. And this is how it started.
What was that first memory of Hong Kong when you landed? Because I'm sure it's very different from France.
Yeah. I would say different from Europe. It's not even abroad. It's not just abroad. It's like another continent. I felt a bit lost. I felt like I didn't have the knowledge, the little also cultural, you need to adapt culturally. I didn't know anything, and it felt very, I would say, it's not political, but it felt very Chinese.
It is Chinese. It is Chinese.
It's kind of
coming from Europe, right? It is Chinese.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we were living in Wan Chai at the time, which is maybe a bit more Chinese than living in Central where we live now. And I remember maybe the first day I went out, or the second day, my husband was at work, and I still had my job at the time because for some months I was working remotely, but I was working like later in the day because of the time difference. So I remember that second day I was out. I wanted to grab some food outside, and I didn't have any SIM card, or I just arrived, so I didn't have anything, no internet connection, nothing. And I was in the street, and I was like, oh. But if I don't remember where I live, I'll be just lost, and I have no internet connection. And it felt very like I was in a zone that I don't know at all, I travel. I used to travel. I travel a lot. So I'm kind of used to being in an environment that I don't know. But this time I remember that I felt really lost and lonely outside, not knowing where to go.
And what eventually happened? Did you manage to get anything? I mean, did you manage to go out and grab something?
I even remember what I got, what I ate that day.
What did you eat?
I ate soft shell crab, and it was very good.
Okay. Despite not knowing where, despite not knowing your bearings or where you were at that time, you went out and got soft shell crab. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
But you managed to find your way back home.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. At least you managed on the second day in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
But even when you say, you just mentioned just now, right? It's not very political the same as Chinese. I mean, even for me as a Malaysian Chinese going to Hong Kong, it still feels very Chinese.
Yes. Yeah.
It's different, and even though I can speak Cantonese and I can speak Mandarin, it's just different. It's different from what I would say I'm used to culturally, even as a Malaysian Chinese. So even for you, it must have been a shocker.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, also there's a lot of expats here, which makes it maybe easier also when you arrive here. And I also remember the first night out, I was on a rooftop terrace in the middle of Hong Kong Island, and I remember all these buildings, all these lights everywhere, so many people, and it felt so far from a European landscape, and it felt like unreal. And I remember that, and I told that to my husband's friends that I was meeting for the first time, and they told me, yes, I agree. I had the same impression when I first arrived in Hong Kong. It feels like this is not the real life. This is like Disneyland or whatever. It feels like things are in a way easier when you're an expat, maybe. Yeah.
Interesting perspective from someone who is living in Hong Kong, but also knowing that there's a difference, right? When you're living there as an expat and when you're like a local Hong Konger. Yeah,
it's much different.
Yeah. And have you gotten used to that now?
To this life, you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but I would say, to be honest, it took a couple of years to start feeling at home. I think it's a long process, and we can't rush it. We can't do anything. Sometimes, you just need to learn to be patient. And this is something I thought I was bad at, but actually I think I'm not that bad, but maybe also getting older makes you more patient, probably, because when you're young, you want everything to go so quickly. But then growing older, you see that actually it's good also to take your time. So yeah, it took a couple of years to start feeling more comfortable and knowing the city better and even Asia better. I still know a little about Asia because it's huge, but I traveled to countries, like nearby countries, and in Hong Kong I met a lot of people, and when I started my podcast, actually, Asian business owners, I had the chance to meet a lot of people, and I still meet a lot of people. So I really started after a while to build my network, and I felt like, a few times I was in the first month or weeks, I was walking in the street and ran into someone I knew, and I felt like, oh, this is becoming my city now. If running into someone means like you start to be out there, and and people start
And you start to belong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And because people know you. Now that you mentioned your podcast, let's get into that. After relocating to Hong Kong, and at one point you were still working remotely for your previous company. So what happened after that in terms of your career?
I didn't really know what I wanted to do at first. So I just knew that I needed to quit my job. So I quit my job. I had a lot of savings. I felt like confident about that because Hong Kong is very expensive. And then I went to a few job interviews, and I, started looking for a job in corporate and marketing. And very quickly, it felt like I was pretending. And I knew this deep down, this wasn't for me, but I think I had to go to a few job interviews just to make sure this is not what I want.
Interesting. People go to a job interview to get the job they want. So you went to a job interview to prove to yourself that this was not the job that you wanted.
Yeah, it's just that after a few interviews, it really felt like, what am I doing now? Like, this is not me anymore. The good thing is that I had a bit of time to think about that. It was a big introspection, and soon after I thought, okay, maybe I think I should be like independent and start my own thing. So I started. The very first few weeks, I was like a freelancer, and my first client, I was helping her with her Instagram account. So it's a lot of, content creation and social media marketing and account management. And then I thought maybe I should make it like a real business and not just being a freelancer. I'm not saying being a freelancer is not a good thing, but it's just that I thought I'll have more credibility having a limited company rather than being just a lonely freelancer. And I don't regret that choice, because I think for, people, other or big companies or other entrepreneurs, I think they don't think the same of you if you have a limited company. So I remember I was filling the forms, and I hate paperwork, admin work. This is really my pet peeve. I hate that, but I had to go through that and go to the Inland Revenue Department in Hong Kong and all of this. And then I founded my company, and soon after that, I just came across the fact that I didn't have any network. We're going back to this networking thing in Hong Kong, and it's crucial to have a network, especially in Hong Kong. I would say even more than in Paris, probably. So I started to go to all the events, the networking events, the conferences, the masterclasses, and you have to do that when you start, to have coffee with a lot of people, and then you see, in hindsight, there are some people that you met and it led to nothing, but maybe a year after it leads to something. So, or maybe that person introduces you to someone else that after becomes your partner or whatever, you never know. So I did that for a few months, and then and this is when I started my podcast as well, because I thought, what else can I do to build strong and meaningful connections with people? Because when you go to networking events, you collect business cards and you remember maybe one person or two, but that's it. It's not as meaningful as what we're doing now, like recording with one person and having time to go deep on some topics. So also, I knew that one day I would start my podcast, because it's something that I really love. It's a format that I love, and I've been listening to podcasts every day for the past, 5-10 years. I really love this. It's part of my day-to-day. And I always, I used to tell my friends, one day I will have my podcast, but it's, there are things you say just like that. But actually, this time it was real. So I started my podcast. I decided that it would be good for my business. That was the first thing, like, how can I say, like, reasonable argument that I told myself. So I recorded my first episode. I was at home and the person came to my home and I didn't know her at all. And she has an agency as well, like an F&B marketing agency specialized in F&B businesses. And she's from Hong Kong. And it was important to me that she was from Hong Kong to really, feel like I belong, as you said. And so I recorded that first episode, and then quickly after I recorded a few more. And I found my first client thanks to the podcast. I was happy. But also I found something else. I found my voice, I would say. And it's not a pun, because podcast, voice. But no, really, I found my voice. I found what I'm passionate about. And I decided that I would continue my podcast, because I could have just stopped and, just focus on my agency. But actually, I felt like there was something else to do with the podcast. And today it's been a year and a half that I started the podcast. I have more than 50 episodes, and I see that my passion hasn't diminished in any way.
But I also know that I remember when I first met you, you mentioned that you had a rebrand of your podcast, right?
Yeah.
You started off with another name, and then now it's Asian Business Owners. So what was that transition like for you? I mean, what made you think of a rebrand?
That's a good question. So, you didn't share the questions with me beforehand, because I wanted to.
No, you wanted to be surprised.
Yes, yeah. So the rebranding happened because initially the name of the podcast was Hong Kong Business Owners. And as I felt like I wanted this podcast to be bigger than just a side project that I had, I felt like I wanted it to resonate with more people. So I thought, why should I limit the podcast only to Hong Kong? There are entrepreneurs everywhere in Asia, so why not? And then this is how it started. And at the same time, I also met someone who's now my business partner for this podcast. And we are now together, we're looking to grow the podcast even more and making it a business and monetize it, which is not an easy thing to do. And actually, this business partner he has a finance background, and he's not the host. I'm the only host of the podcast, but let's say we're business partner in terms of, like, together we reflect on the strategy. And he also knows a lot of people in Hong Kong and has a big network. So this is how we collaborate together. And this is when we rebranded the podcast. And switched to, sorry.
Yeah. Did you rebrand it halfway? Because I know you got 50 over episodes. Was it a halfway thing, or was it like very early in your podcast?
I think, it was probably halfway. I think so. And then we switched to video recording and to weekly episodes, because before that it was every 2 weeks. Because I started on my own and I had a good knowledge about, what a good podcast is, the bad thing, the good things to do. But I had to learn everything myself. Like I recorded my intro, I bought my mics, I did a bit of like the journalist work you have to do when you have a podcast. And I did all of these things. So I learned a lot about the process. And then I felt more confident to switch to video format and learned to edit myself and also I have someone that helps me to edit now. I felt like I needed to learn all of these things myself in order to grow accordingly and have, the right people by my side.
So you have a podcast and you have your agency. How do you juggle both, or are both seamlessly integrated?
I'm not gonna lie, my days are pretty packed. And this is also a big topic for me because I try to take care of my mental health. And when you're very busy, it can be tough. And even though a lot of things have happened, I'm still in the first years of my business. So it's the years you're building a lot and you're always working a lot as an entrepreneur, but maybe the first 3 years, let's say, it's even more crucial. So I think the two things, the podcast and my agency, are connected because I still have leads from my podcast or people listening to my podcast and know about me and then ask me what I do. And then, I have marketing needs for my company. So it can be, like that. But in terms of the work that both requires, I need to juggle between both. And that's where it keeps me very busy to, the podcast, like people who are listening to us, maybe they don't know, but for you to listen to an episode, there are tons of work before. There's tons of hours of work before, like sourcing the people and then calling them and then preparing the episode, recording, editing, publishing. You have so many steps, and I enjoy all the steps, but I have to do this. And then on the other hand, I have to work for my client, and I also have someone that I work with on my agents, on the agency side. So I'm not alone, but still, I have to say this is the thing I struggle with. Yeah, to keep both things happening.
Even listening to you, I can really understand the amount of work that goes into both, right? I mean, it is already a massive undertaking running an agency that deals with marketing and serving your clients well, because you have to serve your clients well. But on the other hand, as a fellow podcaster, I empathize with you too, because as we know, right, the work is not just about recording like we are recording right now. A lot of it has to do with the pre-production and the post-production. And after that, there's a lot of the marketing of the podcast and the episode and getting everything ready. And for me, in a way, I have chosen to do a seasonal podcast because I don't think I could deal with any of that too much, right, on a regular basis. But I salute you. You're doing it on a weekly basis. So kudos to you. I am amazed. And you're doing video. For me, my video just goes up as snippets. I don't put up the entire video, even though I could, but I think I prefer audio. But as you were mentioning, I think we had this conversation before. If you're dealing with video, it's heavier, right? It's heavier than dealing with audio. Yeah. And you need more storage space. You need everything a lot more compared to when it's MP3. Yeah. So wow, you have a lot on your plate.
Yes. Yeah. It's true that when I switched to video format, well, I know I'm good at marketing, digital marketing. So I know about content creation, video, and all of this. But still, having a 45-minute long episode, a video episode, is a different thing. And even the poster I have, even when it's audio, you don't care what you look like, but when it's video, you have to pay attention to details, to the frame, and I have two cameras or two phones. So, I have different frames, and as you said, like the storage of my laptop is like, whoa,
You need
Miles
more.
aside.
You need more storage, right? You need more storage
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my hard drive with me every time.
That's the most precious thing
Yes.
in all your
yes.
assets.
Yeah.
So, was there ever a story or a guest early on in your podcast that made you realize that your podcast was making an impact?
I like that question. Overall, the people that give me feedback about on my podcast, they like the fact that it's super authentic and super honest, and it's not about saying, yeah, I achieved this in a year and I made a lot of money. It's not about that. It's really about the reality and the struggles and also the successes, but it's a really honest conversation. And I think this is what people like about the podcast. And I'm saying that from what they told me. And it's also, to me, it's so natural to do it that way because this is just my personality and that's who I am. So it's not even a strategy. It's just...
It's just you.
Yeah, it's just me.
It's just Carmen.
Yeah. But I think lately there was a story that was very moving to me because it's one of the latest episodes. Because actually that founder, she's French as well, and she was living in Paris as well, like 15 years ago. And her story really resonated with mine because she had exactly what I described earlier in this episode. She had a life put together in Paris. She had a good job. She had a boyfriend. She had friends. She had, everything. And then she quit and she left and she moved to Hong Kong and she started over. So I don't know. I think to me, it was powerful to relate to such a story and to feel like, okay, this is I'm not the only one. And overall, talking to her or other entrepreneurs, I feel that I'm not lonely. I mean, no, I'm not the only one being lonely. You know what I mean? And it feels good to talk about that. It feels good to share that. Yes, it's tough, and let's not glamorize entrepreneurship because it's something that either fits you or not. And if it fits you, well, you gotta be persistent and strong and take care of yourself in your business. It's not easy.
Yeah, definitely not easy. I mean, I'm sure you've interviewed so many people who have told you a lot about their struggles and their stories of how they came to where they are today, right? And I think that I listened to some of your episodes, and I think I listened to the one recent one with, I think, was it Jing Liu?
Yeah.
I like that episode a lot. And I thought she was also very, very honest and very real on that episode.
Yeah. So Jing was, she had a job in a German company, a car manufacturer company. She had a global marketing position, and then she had a business. She started having a business on the side, and then switched to being a full-time business owner. And she had business partners, and then her company got acquired. And after that, she started another business, the business she still has now. And yeah, it was tough. And I asked her, but you had a business before. So is it easier when you had a business before and it got acquired, then for you, it's a piece of cake to start another business, which is very different industry. And she just told me, no, every time it's different. Every time you learn something, every time you have new struggles, new problems that you need to solve, or maybe you're overconfident, and then this is also when problems can happen. So yeah, you have to stay humble, I would say, when you have a business.
And how do you find and choose your guests? What do you look for in the Asian business owner's story?
What I look for. So I look for business owners who've been in this for a few years. So for people who just started their business, it's not really a fit because I like to have more perspective. I like to ask questions, in hindsight, to better understand the journey. And yeah, I would say, I don't know, does it sound silly to say that it's also a feeling?
Like a gut feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's because I invite men, women from any industries. They have to be based in Asia for sure, because that's the goal of the podcast. But other than that, if you're based in Asia, if you've been running a business for a few years successfully, and you're ready to just open yourself and be honest about the reality of your business and your day-to-day as an entrepreneur, then I guess you're a good fit for the podcast.
Great. So if anyone's listening and if they fit that criteria, please reach out to Carmen.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Yes.
Or do you take cold pitches, cold calls?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to switch gears and talk about your social media company, or is it digital marketing? How do you call it?
Octogen.
Yeah. You call it as digital marketing, or is it social media marketing?
I could say digital marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing. So let's talk about Octogen. So tell me a little bit about Octogen.
So I help my clients grow on social media to increase their brand awareness and to convert leads into sales or drive traffic to their website or grow their brand, basically. And I do that by building content strategies and content creation, whether it's like visuals or videos.
And what's your approach when working with business owners? How do you help them in that way? Like, we say, oh, there's so much out there, so much noise and chaos.
I think one of the important things is to know who you're trying to reach. And I would say that's something that is worth for any businesses. And it's also something that a lot of my guests on my podcast say as well. You have to know well your customers, your clients, your audience. You have to know what their habits are, what they're interested in, how old they are, if they're men, women, what do they do for a living, all of these things, the demographics. And I think that's super important to then be able to create content that they, will engage with. Otherwise, if you don't think about that, it's just more noise. And also another thing that I tell my clients is that don't just talk about yourselves. Like, don't talk about your business like, oh, we are the best. We have the best, cookies in town. No one cares about this. You have to make it relatable. Or we have the best services in the city. Yes, okay, cool. But if that person doesn't need, or maybe doesn't know they need HR services, then they will just continue scrolling. So I think you need to, if you know your audience and you stop just bragging about what you do, then you can create relatable content. For example, you're a sustainable business, you sell, food containers, food packaging. This is one of my clients. And instead of saying, we have the best sustainable food packaging, you can say that. But if you say, something like, I don't know, that doesn't always directly sell your products, because otherwise it sounds super salesy, and on social media it's not appropriate. So if you say these are what to do with your food packaging once, if you want to recycle it, for example, like all the F&B businesses here, how do they recycle? They don't know what to do. They don't know where to put all the food cartons and all of this. They don't know. So maybe you create a post like this, or you think about the problems they having in their day-to-day as restaurant owners, for example, or looking to maybe their problems is to get food packaging that keeps food hot, or that is, I don't know, or how to reduce waste, or, you can create a lot of pieces of content that is actually answering their problems and not yours.
So in general, to be helpful, right, to the people you're trying to help.
Yes. Yeah. Because otherwise they won't care about what you say.
Just say someone who's a business owner right now, who's listening to us, and say, okay, now I know who I want to target, who I want to address, and my audience out there. What would be the first step that I need to do after that? Do I need to come up with a series of topics?
Yeah, once you know your audience and you know what your message is, maybe first list down the pain points of your audience. List down their problems, and based on that, you can create content. So once you have that, of course, then you can create your content calendar. So decide how many posts you want to share every week or every month. Maybe let's say you want to post 3-4 times a week on Instagram and 2 times a week, twice a week on LinkedIn, let's say. So then you start building your content calendar, and then you also list down the different formats and the different angle, the different themes. So you can switch, between the content that is really focused on like product features, for example, because you still need to do that. Maybe you also have content that is like testimonials from your clients or your customers. You also have content that is more educational. So you give like fun facts or information or useful information, and all of this keeping in mind who you're talking to. And from there, you start to build the content. So once you know the message, the problems, and the different types of posts and the platforms, then you can start creating. You have a lot of tools now. You can use Canva. It's pretty convenient and very cheap, so makes it easy. So yeah, I would say that's the way to go.
Okay, so thank you so much for the advice. At least someone who's listening to us out there, if they wanted to get started on promoting and marketing themselves, at least they have an idea, right? As a guide, how to get started. Now, I think I remember I started by saying, I asked you about, moving from Paris to Hong Kong. But actually what I was trying to get at, and this was the thing that we wanted to talk about, was taking charge of your life, right? Charting your own narrative and being in control of your own destiny. So I think I want to end a little bit with that. So at least, we want to get into this mindset of sharing with men and women out there, right? That they can do something about their lives if they are not happy with it or they're not satisfied. What would you say to men and women out there who right now probably am feeling a little like, maybe this is not what I like. Maybe they're at some point in their life or career that they feel a little bit stifled. What would your advice be to them?
I love that question. And I love that topic. I'm trying to think of something. I don't want to say things that are very common, when you listen to some entrepreneurs, a lot of them would say, yeah, just go for it. Don't be afraid. But it's such empty words to me because it's so easy to say, but you're actually not saying anything. But what my belief is that life goes by so quickly, and I don't want to to make you sad or whatever, but it's just true. You just go through life and it goes by so quickly. You just blink your eyes and then you're 10 years later. I mean, even the months, the weeks, it goes by so quickly that I don't want to wait because I'm afraid of doing something, I'm like, of course I don't have kids, so it's easier, but I'm not saying if you have kids, you're trapped forever. It's not true. And I love to, that's why also I love to listen to people's stories, because you get so inspired and it gives me hope, really. And even the days I feel down, and I remember a story from one of my guests or from another podcast, and it gives me hope again. And you need that. That's why you need to surround yourself with people that inspire you, because this helps with you achieving your goals. So yeah, this is what I would say to them. Like, think about even famous actors or famous people. I think it was Morgan Freeman. I think it was him. He started being an actor and he was kind of old. He didn't start at 20 years old. And look at him now. Like, everybody knows him. He's super famous. So I would say it's never too late. It's not because you're a mom or a dad, or because you feel old, or because you don't master a tool. If you really want to do it, and if you feel it in your gut, I would say, why not? And fear is actually something that drives you. It's good to be afraid. I think it's good. It means that you're trying something and it's exciting. And when I started the podcast, I didn't know how to use my mics and all of this. And actually it's fine. You have a brain, you can master that. It's easy if you really want. You have YouTube tutorials. You have so many things to learn if you really want to learn and if you really want to try something. So I would say, don't be naive, of course, because I'm not saying like if you want something, if you want to be a millionaire, you will be a millionaire tomorrow. That's not how it works. But if you just listen to your gut feeling, listen to yourself, what makes sense to you. And then if it really deep down makes sense to you, I think you will find the solutions that you may not have in front of you now, but you will find it. It's just how it works. Do you relate to that?
I do. I think the reason why we kind of resonate well with each other is because we both understand this life of podcasting, the life of an entrepreneur, and we interview entrepreneurs, and we understand that there's so many things in life that could hold us back. But most entrepreneurs don't let that hold them back.
Yeah.
And I think that is where the inspiration comes from. It's because entrepreneurs will find a way to make it work somehow.
Yes.
It could take a while. I mean, I'm like you. I'm not saying that it like overnight success, right? And because it is not overnight success, I guess it's sweeter when you get to where you want to go.
And sustainable.
Yeah, sustainable, right? But in the process of making it sustainable, whether it is a podcast, whether it's a business, we also learn so much about ourselves. But because we have podcasts, now we can tap into other people's brains.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's like we're getting an MBA while we're creating something I would call, in a way, like a form of legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're leaving these stories for other people to discover and to also get inspired by. But at the same time, you're also getting an MBA, but from a different perspective, because there could be multiple industries out there that are me and you, we don't know anything about, but we learn so much about the industry, even probably 10% of the industry, through interviewing people that we get on our podcast. So I think, So I think that's the fascinating part about podcasting, right? Like this access to someone's brain.
Yeah, I love this. I love it.
So it's an MBA and probably a PhD too, if you think about it. But I want to ask you this. What's next for you, Carmen?
What's next for me? So on the digital marketing part, it's still to get even more clients and grow even more. So there's not a specific project, but it's just to keep my business growing. And I think it's an objective in itself. On the podcast side, I would say, so I will keep releasing weekly episodes. But as I said a little bit earlier, I'm looking to sign partnerships and monetize the podcast. So I'm meeting people, I'm having discussions. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, that's the objective. And I have actually a meeting with my business partner next week to map out the next milestones in order to achieve that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so interesting that you came all the way from Europe, came to Hong Kong, and from your need of wanting to meet people and to create your community, you started your podcast and your business. And now do you feel like a Hong Konger?
Part of it.
Part of it, okay.
Part of it, yeah. And you know what? I would say even that when I go back to Paris, when I visit my family, I love it there and it feels like this is also home. But I feel like now I wouldn't go back there to live there. And I prefer to live in Hong Kong. So yeah, that was not the case 2 years ago.
That's because you didn't find your community yet, I presume.
Yeah, but see, I think it's a good example of resilience and finding your new comfort zone, because it's scary. I was scared, but actually over time, if you do the right things, then you just expand your comfort zone.
And that's really, really amazing. So before we end, where can people find you online and to connect with you?
So you can, I'm everywhere. As a digital marketer,
to be expected.
I'm everywhere. Yeah. But no, you can listen to the podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, and all the major podcast platforms. And you can reach out to me either on LinkedIn. I guess we'll add the link probably in the description.
We'll put it in the description and in the show notes.
Okay, so on LinkedIn or on Instagram at abo.pod.
Okay, so that's abo.pod. And thank you, Carmen, for being on
Thank you.
My podcast. I know we're both fellow podcasters, but it's always very interesting to interview a fellow podcaster because we understand so much, right, of the backbreaking work. And we also understand so much goes into a podcast before the episode is even aired.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. It was really interesting conversation. I had a good time.
Yes. And sometimes it's nice to flip the roles, right? You interview others, so sometimes it's nice to be interviewed as well, and you get to say stuff that, probably you want to say, but probably no one has asked you that question before.
Yeah, very true.
Okay. So thank you so much, Carmen.
Thank you.
What was your key takeaway from my conversation with Carmen? I loved how Carmen was courageous about reinventing herself through a series of intentional choices that added up to a life that she truly wanted. Carmen showed us that taking charge of your destiny often means stepping into uncertainty, trusting yourself, and building the courage to create something from the ground up. Her journey from Paris to Hong Kong is a powerful reminder that you don't have to wait for the perfect time to start over. You can write your next chapter whenever you decide to. Carmen's ability to blend her passions, podcasting, entrepreneurship, and a purpose-driven life shows how reinvention can be both deeply personal and profoundly impactful. So here's my question for you. If you could rewrite the next chapter of your life starting today, what would that look like? If you're new to this podcast, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out on the latest episodes. For my returning listeners, could you do me a favor? Please rate and review this podcast on your preferred podcast app. Your feedback greatly helps others find and enjoy our show, and I'll see you next week.